2025 has been a landmark year for role-playing games. I mean, we got it all. From sprawling open worlds to deep narrative journeys, this year delivered unforgettable adventures, amazing mechanics, and characters you'll be talking about for years. If you love some tactical combat, emotional storytelling, or boundary-pushing visuals, there's something here for every RPG fan. In this video, we're going deep into the 12 best RPGs of 2025, highlighting what makes each one a must-play experience. Grab your controller, and let's explore.
Even if we fail, we lay the trail for those who will come after. Right?
Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. In this game, you're dropped into a world where death is not random, it's ritualized. Every year, a godlike entity known as the Paintress marks a descending number onto a towering monolith. The symbol the entire civilization watches in silence. When that number changes, those who have exceeded it are claimed, erased from existence as if the world itself has finally rejected them. The story follows Expedition 33, a group fully aware that this is likely their final year alive. Yet they march forward anyway, hoping to end the cycle before the next number is written. You're not chasing glory here. You're chasing borrowed time, and the narrative never lets you forget it. The plot leans heavily into grief, fatalism, and quiet defiance. Every companion has a deeply personal reason for joining the expedition, and the writing constantly reinforces the idea that survival is not guaranteed or even expected. The world itself feels suspended between beauty and decay, shaped by generations who learn to live beneath a countdown they cannot stop. Dialogues dwell on memory, regret, and whether meaning can exist when the end is publicly announced. Combat remains turn-based and real-time inputs, but the true tension comes from knowing every step forward may already be one step too late, leading seamlessly into another story shaped by betrayal. The first Berserker, Khazan. This time the spotlight shifts to a name long whispered in legend, but never fully understood. The story digs deep into the origins of Khazan, a warrior whose fate was sealed long before he became a symbol of rage and ruin. Set centuries earlier, the narrative focuses on betrayal, political manipulation, and the slow erosion of honor. I guess you're not really playing a hero here, who's at his peak. You're witnessing how one is dismantled. Khazan begins as a loyal general, respected and feared in equal measure, only to be framed, tortured, and exiled by the empire he once helped secure. The plot thrives on psychological descent. Every chapter strips away another illusion, replacing loyalty with clarity and pain with purpose. This transformation is gradual, deliberate, and deeply human. Power does not corrupt him. Injustice reshapes him. The world reacts as his legend grows, fear turning into reverence as rumors spread. Combat reflects this brutality with deliberate, punishing encounters, reinforcing the physical toll of his journey. By the time we move forward, the question lingers. Are monsters born, or are they engineered by systems that discard their own champions?
Come. Your Emperor has chosen you as our envoy to the living lands. That wild frontier suffers from the dream scourge.
Avowed. After witnessing a warrior broken by his empire, the next journey asks what happens when an empire breaks a land. Set in the living lands, the story places you in the role of an imperial envoy sent to investigate a supernatural plague known as the dream scourge. The entire thing that begins as a controlled diplomatic mission quickly spirals into a conflict involving faith, ancient gods, and the ethics of intervention. The story thrives on moral ambiguity. Factions believe it's saving the living lands, yet each solution risks erasing cultures, beliefs, or entire populations. The story consistently questions whether authority can ever coexist with autonomy. Divine forces stir beneath the soil, and their influence bleeds into politics, nature, and personal choice. Companions are not passive allies. They challenge your worldviews, forcing ideological friction instead of validation. Gameplay supports the narrative by making magic feel volatile and environments hostile, reinforcing the land's resistance to control. As this chapter closes, the central question remains unsolved. Can something truly be healed by the same power that helped break it?
The airliner Lint has gone missing.
There will come a time when she has to choose her own path.
We gotta hurry and bring Dad back. Estelle, look out!
Trails in the Sky, first chapter. The scale pulls back here, trading divine conflict for human connection. This story begins with two young bracers stepping into a profession built on trust, travel, and quiet responsibility. Estelle and Joshua's journey unfolds slowly, allowing the world of Liberal to reveal itself through everyday struggles rather than immediate catastrophe. The narrative excels through patience. Political tensions simmer beneath ordinary town life, and personal relationships grow naturally across borders. Nations feel lived in, shaped by history rather than spectacle. The emotional core revolves around belonging, secrecy, and the cost of unspoken truths. Rather than rushing towards a grand conflict, the plot builds weight through accumulation. Every side quest deepens the world, every conversation adds context. Combat and armament systems remain restrained, ensuring the story leads rather than follows mechanics. When the chapter ends, it does not seek resolution. It invites commitment, preparing you for a long-form saga built on empathy and continuity rather than shock.
Comes a completely original Part 2. And like all good sequels, we've included everything that should have been in the first game. More action.
The Outer Worlds 2. From grounded political drama, we launch back into corporate absurdity with sharper teeth. This sequel shifts focus to a new star system, destabilized by corporate warfare and unchecked experiments. As competing megacorporations fight for dominance, strange rifts begin destabilizing the colony, threatening everything from supply chains to civilian safety. Corporate slogans mask exploitation, and manufactured crises are treated as business opportunities. You're not positioned as a savior. You're a variable, pulled into conflicts where every solution benefits someone dangerous. Choices rarely offer clean outcomes, often exposing how deeply corruption is embedded. Companions embody different survival philosophies, from compliance to rebellion, and their perspectives challenge your decisions rather than reinforce them. Gameplay emphasizes player freedom, but the story repeatedly reminds you that freedom inside a rigged system has limits. As we move on, the humor fades just enough to reveal how familiar this chaos feels. Monster Hunter Wilds. The noise of corporate warfare gives way to something far older and more dangerous. This story centers on expedition into the Forbidden Lands, a region long erased from maps and memory. The journey begins after a young boy named Nada is found near the edge of an ecosystem no one was meant to enter, triggering an investigation that quickly turns into a fight for survival. Rather than focusing on conquest, the plot frames hunters as observers and mediators. Ecosystems are collapsing, migration patterns are breaking, and apex predators like the White Wraith disrupt any illusion of balance. There's no single villain here. Nature itself is reacting to an intrusion. Storytelling unfolds through ruins, environmental shifts, and behavior of monsters adapting to instability. Combat reinforces preparation over dominance, making every hunt feel earned rather than triumphant. The message lingers as we move forward. Some worlds cannot be tamed. They can only be understood or escaped.
I was never meant to be a warrior.
Get up now!
Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. After dealing with untamed lands and larger-than-life threats, this story pulls you straight into the dirt, blood, and politics of medieval Europe. We return to war-torn Bohemia, following Henry as his world grows harsher rather than safer. He's no longer an inexperienced survivor, but experience does not shield him from betrayal, manipulation, or loss. Power struggles between nobles intensify, and you quickly realize that loyalty is treated as currency rather than virtue. The plot leans heavily into moral compromise. Faith is weaponized, justice bends to influence, and doing the right thing often carries brutal consequences. Henry is constantly caught between personal revenge and larger political movements he cannot control. The writing refuses to romanticize knighthood or heroism. Survival often demands silence, restraint, or submission rather than bravery. As this chapter unfolds, it reminds you that realism can be more unforgiving than fantasy, especially when power looks familiar and corruption feels ordinary. Elden Ring Nightreign. You step into a realm trapped beneath an unending night, where the passage of time feels broken and hope has eroded into routine despair. You take on the role of a Nightfarer, one of many who's challenged the rule of the Night Lords in an attempt to end the eternal darkness suffocating the land. This is not a tale of conquest. It is about resistance against stagnation. The story unfolds indirectly, through ruined landscapes, cryptic encounters, and characters who understand that they are trapped in a repeating cycle. Memory, identity, and purpose blur together as the night refuses to loosen its grip. Endings feel temporary. The death often feels like another loop rather than a release. Combat remains punishing and deliberate, while cooperative survival reinforces the idea that isolation leads to failure. The narrative weight comes from the existential tension rather than spectacle. As you push forward, the question becomes unavoidable. If the night cannot truly be defeated, does meaning still exist, continuing to fight? Pokémon Legends, ZA. After so much darkness, let's shift focus towards transformation rather than collapse. This story game unfolds in a reimagined Lumiose City, where large-scale urban redevelopment forces humans and Pokemon to renegotiate how they live together. Instead of expanding into untouched wilderness, the narrative examines what happens when space grows limited and priorities collide. Modernization reshapes everything. Habitats are altered, traditions are questioned, and Pokemon are treated as active participants in the city's future rather than passive companions. Public policy, infrastructure changes, and social attitudes all influence how coexistence evolves. Characters you meet represent conflicting philosophies, from aggressive progress to careful preservation, and the story avoids presenting any of them as fully right or wrong. Real-time encounters and exploration reinforce unpredictability in dense urban environments. Pokemon behavior changes on location and development choices, grounding the plot in visible consequences. The tone stays hopeful, but never naive. Progress always costs something. As you move forward, the series feels more socially aware than ever, asking what coexistence really means in a changing world.
I am sure of it.
So, thou art come before me at last. Long have I awaited this moment.
Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. This game's journey circles back to where console RPG storytelling truly began. These remakes retell the foundational legends tied to Erdrick's lineage, focusing on destiny, sacrifice, and the burden of inherited responsibility. The storytelling is deliberately straightforward, allowing mythic themes to stand front and center without distraction. Heroes are not celebrated figures at the start. They're individuals answering a call that offers no guarantee of survival. Courage here is quiet and persistent, defined by endurance rather than spectacle. The connection between the two adventurers reinforces legacy, showing how choices made in one era shape the fate of the next. Classic turn-based structure supports the pacing, giving the narrative room to breathe. The HD 2D visual style enhances emotional clarity without overwhelming the simplicity of the tale. These stories remind you why RPGs began, with myths meant to be remembered, retold, and passed forward, not optimized or rushed.
New Los Angeles. Welcome to NLA.
Xenoblade Chronicles X, Definitive Edition. The scale shifts dramatically as humanity's survival takes center stage on the alien world of Myra. Earth is gone, and what remains of humanity is scattered, desperate and uncertain of its future. This plot here is not about destiny or chosen heroes. It's about displacement and adaptation in a world that does not care if you exist. The plot explores colonization ethics, artificial identity, and cultural preservation. Humanity struggles not only to survive, but to decide what parts of itself are worth saving. Side stories deepen this theme, showing how desperation reshapes values, alliances, and mortality. Myra itself remains vast, hostile, and indifferent, reinforcing how small humanity truly is. Survival feels earned through planning and cooperation, not power fantasy. As the story progresses, urgency slowly gives way to reflection. The question shifts from how to survive to whether survival alone is enough to define a future. Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. The journey closes on something quieter and more reflective. This story follows a protagonist whose strange ability sends her 1,000 years into the future of her island. Instead of rewriting history, the narrative focuses on confronting its consequences. What you discover is a world shaped by decisions long forgotten, yet still deeply felt. The future island reflects loss, decay, and resilience. Civilization has changed, traditions have faded, and rebuilding becomes a necessity rather than a choice. The emotional weight comes from seeing how ordinary lives were shaped by moments no one thought would matter. Characters encountered across time deepen this perspective, creating connections without altering the past. Life systems support this theme by emphasizing restoration, craftsmanship, and responsibility. Progress is measured through healing rather than the domination. The story does not end with power or conquest. It ends with understanding, making a fitting, grounded conclusion to a year defined by thoughtful RPG storytelling. In 2025, the RPG genre delivered some of the most memorable adventures we've seen in years. From sprawling open worlds that redefine player freedom to tightly crafted narratives that tug at your emotions, these 12 games stood out for innovation, depth, and sheer playability. These titles showed how the genre continues to evolve and surprise us. If you're building your ultimate playlist, these 12 RPGs are essential experiences that showcase the best of what 2025 had to offer.
Stand witness to how its existence unfolds.